the basil of the house, the caring, sensible, loving wife, the first woman to embrace Islam, the mother of the believers, Khadijah bint Khuwaylid.
The leaders of Mecca looked at the call of the messenger at its beginning, just as they looked at the call of the wise men who preceded him, even if they mocked his followers, enjoyed their joking or reproaching them when they saw them or dealt with them. The messenger did not direct the invitation to these leaders publicly, but rather he called to Allah in secret and conveyed his message to those who were characterized by goodness, so they would enter his religion and increase day after day. And Khadijah's house received those Muslims who came to it. She welcomed them and gave them a lot of her kindness and righteousness. This call continued in secret for 3 years, during which the Muslims fled with their prayer to the mountain pass of Mecca, gathered secretly in the house of one of them, spoke to each other in whispers, and kept away from the eyes of the leaders of Quraysh as much as they could. One day, the messenger came in and was worried. So Khadijah sensed what was in his mind and approached him with a smile, then asked him gently, "What's up, O Messenger of Allah?" He said in sympathy, "My Lord commanded me to announce this call, speak it out loud, and to warn the leaders of Quraysh and my closest clan. So Allah Almighty said, and warn your closest kindred, and be gracious to the believers who follow you, but if they disobey you, say, I am certainly free of what you do. Put your trust in the Almighty, most merciful, who sees you when you arise, and your movement among those who prostrate. Indeed, He is the hearing, the knowing." Khadijah said quietly, "Truly, O Messenger of Allah, it is necessary to warn your closest clan and convey to them the message of your Lord, so that they hear the words of Allah, ponder Allah's command, and benefit from Allah's grace which the others received. Who is more deserving this invitation than those closest to you?" The messenger looked at her, then said, extending his gaze into the wide courtyard, "They will provoke it into war, O Khadijah. Their souls are rebelling against us, and their hearts are burning and bubbling. They wish they could get hold of us and burn us. They hate Islam, which has attracted some of their children, relatives, and slaves. They say that it has spoiled their lives with its teachings, made their livelihood difficult, and alerted people to their rights. So what would they do if I called them themselves to this religion? Their revolution will explode, and their mischief will be revealed after it has been hidden. We do not have the ability to face them, O Khadijah." She said with seriousness and determination appearing on her face, "Aren't you calling for the truth and the straight path? Allah is with you, and He will not let you down or abandon you. So call them as your Lord has commanded you, speak to them, and recite the Quran to them. Perhaps their hearts will be softened when they hear the truth. Their souls will be inclined to what they know of the validity, and they will overcome their devils and enter the upright religion of Allah. Otherwise, your Lord is in observation." Then the opinion was settled that Khadijah would prepare food for them, which the messenger would invite them to, and then he would present to them the command of Allah. In the morning, the messenger went out inviting them to a feast he had prepared for them, and Khadijah was busy preparing the food, hoping that these leaders would respond to the Prophet's call and enter his religion. The matter would be over, and peace would prevail. When lunchtime came, The people gathered in Khadijah's house and sat talking about money and its affairs, trade and its types and methods, and affairs of war and peace. When the messenger wanted to talk to them about his calling, they fled, revolted, and left angry and discontented. Then the messenger entered upon Khadijah, and pain was evident in his face. Then he said with a gentle smile, "Have you seen it, Khadijah? They insist on disbelief. They will not respond to this religion. How will they respond to it, whereas they see that they are higher than people, and that others must remain lower than them? How will they respond to it, whereas it frankly declares that it will take from their money what is due to the poor, the necessitous, and the helpless?" Khadijah said, smilingly in a calm voice, "Do not despair, O Messenger of Allah. You are calling them to what is best for them. If they are guided, it is for themselves, and if they go astray, then the sin of their stubbornness is upon them. Is there any obstacle to calling them again?" The messenger said in determination, "Rather, I will call all the people of Mecca, and I will tell all of them about Allah's command." Then he went up to As-Safa one morning and called out at the top of his voice, "O people of Quraysh! O people of Quraysh!" When they heard his call, they hurried to look and find out what he wanted. Then they approached him and asked him about the reason for this shouting and that call. He told them that his Lord had commanded him to warn his closest relatives. So he stood to inform them of Allah's command, warn them of his wrath, and call them to Allah, the one and only, who has no partner or son. They exploded in mockery, and his uncle Abdul Uzza shouted in anger, "Damn you! Is this why you brought us together and disturbed our comfort?" The revelation came down to the messenger in response to his uncle, who was threatening and mocking him. So the messenger read it to the people and shouted at the top of his voice, "May the hands of Abu Lahab be ruined, and ruined is he. His wealth will not avail him or that which he gained. He will enter to burn in a fire of blazing flame, and his wife as well, the carrier of firewood. Around her neck is a rope of twisted fiber." The people looked at each other, and their mouths smiled at this sarcastic response. Their smiles increased as they repeated this new nickname for Abdul Uzza, as if it had been compared to him and was tailored precisely for him. People moved their lips with it and said, "Abu Lahab." Then they smiled more, imagining his wife with this new attribute, the firewood carrier, and that rope of fiber in her neck. This divine response struck like lightning until it included Mecca, and was repeated by the mouths of men and women, the old and the young. It reached the ears of Abdul Uzza and his wife Jamil as a biting sarcasm. They became furious, and Jamil swore by Allat and Al-Uzza to take revenge on Muhammad and Khadijah, as they lived next to each other. She rushed to her husband, angry at the women's ridicule of her, at the rope that Muhammad had put on her neck, and at the firewood she was carrying. She shouted at him, "What's left after today? Either I am at home, or the divorce of Khadijah's 2 daughters." Her husband was no less angry than her, so he hurried to his 2 sons, who had made a marriage contract with Ruqayya and Kulthum, but had not consummated the marriage with them, and he shouted to them angrily, "Did you hear what Muhammad said about me and your mother? Either me or Khadijah's daughters." They thought for a while. Then his anger increased and shouted, threatening them, "If you do not divorce them, I am not your father, and I will cut off my connection with you until I die angry with you." He did not finish his words until his wife ran screaming to her two sons, swearing and cursing, threatening and vowing. The two sons had no choice before the revolution of their father and mother but to submit to what they wanted. They divorced the two girls. When Khadijah heard that, she raised her hands to the sky, thanking the grace of Allah who separated her two daughters from Abu Lahab's two sons, took them away from Jamil's house, and distanced them from her evil. The messenger was pleased and thanked his Lord for saving his two daughters from the evil of Abu Lahab and his wife. But he knew that their war would not end, and that these two evil people would roll up for open hostility and overt plotting. Khadijah expected Jamil to start plotting against her, just as women plot against each other. But that story is for the next time.